Connecting. Good to go. All right. Good morning, Mr. Fred Carmosino, aka Vito, aka the Don. How you doing today?
Doing very well. It's a beautiful day out in Dunrobin. We're looking forward to going outside and having some activity time with the family. So it's a great day. How about you guys?
Perfect. Ditto. Well, maybe less time with the family, but we'll spend some time outside for sure. Thanks for being here. Why don't you just give us a quick update, because I'm sure people are dying to just see your face and hear your voice. How you guys been? What's going on? Has anything changed for you guys in terms of this whole COVID situation?
Yeah, thanks. So, I'm definitely quite appreciative and fortunate that because of the essential staffing requirements, our business is still continuing to operate with 7 to 8 active sites. I just see Rob jumped on. Hey, Rob. And so, we're looking good. No layoffs. Things have slowed down. We're providing a work environment for those in our structure who can work efficiently, but also safely. I'm positive that we're going to see some changes with restrictions this month or in May, and that should be able to help us then continue on the pulling permits and doing things that we need to do, continue to do business. So all in all, it's been actually a pretty interesting change. I'm really enjoying the family time. I'm enjoying being with my kids, learning to use other resources to get work done, and obviously, we're still moving forward. So things are great on that account.
Excellent. So I think most people who are watching this probably know you at least a little bit. But you're talking about pulling permits and whatnot, and the people that don't know you are probably maybe confused as to what are you talking about. So why don't you give us a quick, brief description of who you are, maybe how you got to where you are now.
Okay, so I currently own and run a design build firm called Maple Leaf Custom Homes. We build we design and build 8 to 10 custom homes throughout Ottawa a year. We're also a small land developer, and personally, I also am growing a small portfolio of rental properties. So real estate's sort of the key line of work, all kinds. But in answer to your question, and this is going to answer, a guy like, I think Rob Shaw asked a question earlier about why did you become an entrepreneur? So very interesting question. Like a lot of kids in their teens, I had a job working at a local grocery store in Canada. And if you're old enough, the Beaverbrook Mall used to have this IGA, which is turned into Loeb. Okay. Yeah, sorry, that's okay. No, that was incoming call. I just killed it. So I realized early on that I wasn't the best employee, to be very honest with you. We can use foul language. I were often referred to by my manager as a dog fucker. I would do action poses when the boss walked by, and I was there for just the paycheck. But what's interesting, the juxtaposition of that story is that I realized shortly after that I wouldn't work harder for anybody other than myself. And that was an interesting realization in my mind. And what's even better now, to delve in further, is now I understand why I was what I was and why people referred to me as the dog fucker. But at the time, I had to go through this growth to understand just why I was doing what I was doing, in terms of not taking employment seriously, not taking my job seriously. I just wasn't motivated to help anybody else achieve their bottom line. And I was more motivated to helping myself. So it was a self-serving thing. I had an opportunity in university to run a couple of businesses, which taught me a lot about, reinforced that thought. But then it made me also appreciate the other side. So as an employer, you really appreciate employees or team members that work extremely hard, take their job seriously, show up on time, put in a good day's work. And now I know I've learned the hard way what it would be like to be also a good soldier, as opposed to the leader part of the organization. But I think, you know, to answer Rob's question quickly, it would be that I just could never work harder for anybody else other than myself. And that was probably one of the key motivators to becoming self-employed.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So I think you made a good point that I just wanted to touch on there. Those of you that posed questions, we're going to do our best to kind of meld those into the stories. But if we don't touch on anything specific, you know, feel free to reach out. We can have a second chat, or you know, some kind of one-on-one for that stuff. So maybe this is more for my own personal question, because I feel like I was very similar to you in that sense of not being a great employee. How do you now deal with your employees? And sorry for those of you that don't care about this stuff. You know, if you have an employee who's kind of like you were, how do you get that through to them that, like, hey, your goal should be my goal, kind of thing?
I think the employer-employee relationship is similar to a relationship you have with a good friend or a child, or you know, anybody else in your life. I think I find the most positive way to communicate and get results with people is to be honest, and to understand their perspective. So, you know, my approach would be very simply like, I know why you're doing what you're doing, because I was there. I was that guy. And in fact, I don't hold anything against you, because I know I was that guy. I've had this talk in other aspects of my life, in the fire service as a station captain, at work, and then even with my children at home. You know, it's you know, there's no judgment. It's just, I can explain the feelings that they have about what they're doing. And then if you can find a way to relate, then I think that's the connection you need to sort of try to impart change, or initiate change. And so to answer that question, that's how I would, you know, find something that's relatable. And that's often the key difference with success and failure, is that maybe there's something that, you know, a perspective that someone may have is not the same as someone else's perspective, and there's no relationship. And then all of a sudden, you know, it doesn't result in a positive nature as it would if you can find a relatable ground to sort of build on. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Sorry. So we'll get back on topic here a little bit. I know through conversations with you over the last little while that that a personal development journey, and I know that means different things to different people, but, you know, working on yourself, let's call it, becoming a better parent, business owner, friend, all of a family member, all of the above. I know that that's something that's important to you. Can you talk about what prompted you to start actively working on that, and then maybe what that process looks like and what kind of benefits come from working on personal development? That's a good question.
Yeah, very good question. So I think one of my core beliefs is that we have a duty to ourselves to be better than we were the day before. You know, you got limited time on this planet to sort of build meaningful and purposeful relationships with people, and that's really what all this is. I mean, I guess I'm starting from the beginning, but if you look at what's important in life, and, you know, you qualify those things in order. Let's say, you know, I don't know, great interpersonal relationships, surrounded by people that love you and you love, having the courage to do things that you always wanted to do. These are sort of like a top 2 or 3 deathbed regrets that people, you know, that are passing away will tend to reflect on before dying. And if I was looking down the road at what I wanted to achieve in my life and I wanted to back it up, it became apparent that there was a gap between where I was and where I needed to be, not only as a father or a husband, a leader in my community, and obviously at work. And then, you know, that obviously encompassed, you know, some of that physical body that needs to be in good shape in order to do these things. So, you know, intro to fitness and how we get together. But to answer your question a little more directly, identified this gap. And it's funny because when you're in business, you tend to measure your goals financially. Like, you know, how much did I achieve this year? What was the revenue? What was the profit? How do I do better? but that doesn't take long for you to extrapolate those goals over all different aspects of your life. So, you know, you may have relationship aspects and goals you want to achieve, and then you may have, you know, societal goals or community goals that you want to achieve. And, you know, you could have spiritual goals you want to achieve, and physical goals or fitness goals. And so it became an all-encompassing thing where I was setting goals yearly, and maybe not even, you know, not on the 1st of January, but, you know, sometime during the year, where I was trying to tweak and improve each and every aspect of my life in order to become a better version of myself. And then measuring, you know, where I was on this day as opposed to this day, and then setting goals like, you know, about things I wanted to do, whether it was just to create meaningful things to do with my kids, which I'm still working on now that the COVID's upon us. Those are very prevalent and more important than ever. But it was a mindset that I adopted because I saw it in business and then translated it to other aspects of my life and said, why can't I measure what I do in other aspects of my life like I do in business? And you know, here we are several years later, and that's now just part of an everyday routine where constantly trying to improve from where I was yesterday.
Mm-hmm. So you touched on kind of what that process looked like, in terms of, you know, what I understand there is there's a lot of things in business you were able to measure, and you wanted to be able to translate that to outside of business. Was there an event? Was there a tipping point? Was there something that made you realize, I want to improve these things? Or was that always, and how long ago did this kind of process start?
Yeah, very good question. So a long time ago, I was mentored by a guy. He's going to remain nameless right now, but he had this term he used a lot. It was future shaping event. So FSEs. You guys, whoever's listening right now, or whoever listens, this is the future. These are events in your life that you don't necessarily know at the time that are going to shape your future, but when you look back, you know they were. And if you're really good at recognizing that this is an FSC upon you, then that's even better, because it's going to be more meaningful at the time. So, you know, obviously, mortality is one that makes you reflect, right? So I hit 40 years old, which in Canada is pretty much halfway point to a useful life. Not that you can't be useful after 80. I'm not trying to offend anybody. But you know, I think the average age for a man, I think in Ontario, is 87, and I'm just thinking, you know, I'm hitting 40. I'm getting close to that. What do I really want to do with my life? What are the things that I've talked about doing and never done? So I think in my early 40s, I had an FSE where I was trying to look to understand what was on the bucket list, and, you know, why I had to get things done to get there. And so that was definitely a real motivator for change. I'm just going to jump back a second, though. I wanted to reflect on that future shaping event that I had about being in business for myself. So this will help people understand that, you know, there are many times in life where you have crises of confidence, and they become future shaping events. And so, you know, the becoming an entrepreneur, I knew working for others wasn't going to be an option for me. And so I took on the responsibility of running a business, a painting business, in the summertime. This was specifically the summer of 1997. And I'd just gotten back from a year-long trip in Australia. And you guys are from Ottawa, most of you. And so I took this job with College Pro to, like, you know, I didn't know anything about painting, and they were going to transfer a skill set onto me that I was going to be able to not only market, produce, estimate, and sell these jobs to people in the open market. So, you know, here I am back from Australia. I got a girlfriend that I'd met going to university in Kingston. That relationship was on the down and outs. I remember specifically driving, cresting the Moody Hill going towards Canada in this Ford F-150 that was probably costing me $40 a day in gas. And I pissed off 2 or 3 customers. A couple of guys quit on me. It was early May. It was probably like 7 o'clock at night. I hadn't eaten all day. It was like one of the worst days ever. Like, just terrible day of questioning why I was doing anything, why it mattered, similar to how you feel during some workouts sometimes. And that moment in time was so specific because I remember thinking to myself, like, I can just do what I've always done and pull the plug on this thing, and no one's going to care. No one's going to know. No one's going to judge, you know. But then I just, you know, I remember, you know, thinking to myself, like, no, I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to do what I've never done before. I'm going to try to pull this one through. And I think that one lesson of just saying, no, I'm not going to go down this road, I'm going to go down that road, ended up teaching me a lot. But I didn't realize until afterwards what that meant. And then, so now I reflect back on that day and similar days. So to answer your question more specifically, I think when I hit that 40 mark, I had other reflections about where I wanted to be, and I'm looking to the future and what the things I want to do. And so they motivate me to plug those gaps or fill those gaps where things are missing in aspects of my life because time is running out.
Mm-hmm. And maybe this is a tough one, but you're talking about these future shaping events, and how, you know, it's possible in that moment to recognize that this is one of those turning points, those important decisions where if I make it one way, it'll lead my life in one way, and vice versa for another decision. Is it possible to train yourself in some way to get better to identify those moments or those events in the moment?
I would suspect it would be. I don't know if I have the smoking gun answer for that question.
Okay.
I find so interesting. I'm going to refer to a question posted by Kyle Royer on this curve, the positive change curve. So for those of you that don't know, you know, this curve was shown to me during this crisis of confidence that I had as a early entrepreneur in '97. And if maybe Adam will pull it up now. But it's basically an S curve, a shape of an S on its side. And I had the pleasure of talking Kyle through this curve before. For those of you who don't know, Kyle's also at you know, CFC, and had embarked on a pretty amazing and gutsy journey to go open up an office and serve accounting services to those people in need in Toronto. And on his own, he ventured down. Yeah, so there's many different versions of this curve. The one I would look for, I'll just show you, Adam, if I can. It looks, no, it's okay. I'm not gonna screen share with you. I'm gonna show you which one I want to see. That's bad, eh? Right in the middle of this, but it looks like, you know, if I could see this one, where's my camera? That one, it's purple and red. If you just look up crisis, because it'll refer to the terms that I'm using. So while he does that, so what's interesting is that everything that we do, major decisions in our lives, will cause a certain amount of anxiety and stress. But what we realize is we go through this curve, and it's amazing when you see it. If you look at it, it's not the full S, because on the beginning side, you have other stuff going on. But basically, when you embark on a new journey or something that's going to change your life, you have this uninformed optimism. So you're riding this high of, yeah, I can do this, and I can be this person, or I can achieve these goals, and this is going to be fantastic, and I can't wait to kick some ass, and just watch me go. And then, of course, what happens is called the honeymoon period, is that you start to realize that the goals you've set, like for instance, in my opinion, be like, yeah, I want to snatch 225. Okay. Because I've seen guys do it, and that's great. But really, what does it take to get there? So you're riding the high of the curve. It seems realistic. Then as you come down the curve, you start realizing, you know what? This may not be for me. I may never get there. I'm not sure I'm going to make it. I wonder why this matters. And so you hit the bottom of the curve. You have a crisis of confidence on the beginning part of the curve, right there. Exactly. It's a crisis of confidence. You're wondering why. You hit the rock bottom. It's probably some of the worst times ever. You're questioning everything, because you understand what it's going to take to get to the top of the curve again. So you go through this informed pessimism at the bottom. And then as you start to climb the curve again, having these, you know, faith in yourself, belief that you can do something, you start to become more informed, but optimistic about what you can do again, now having information. And you can't tell by the diagram, but the mood on the second curve of the red is actually higher than the first curve. So you're gaining, exactly, that's going to end up being higher. When you get to completion, you've now informed about what you're doing. You did it. You hit the rock bottom. Now you're climbing. This curve is relevant in almost every aspect of your life when it comes to making major decisions or changes. And I think someone taught me this curve early on, and it's helped me get through pretty hard times. And I've been able to thankfully share that curve with others. And so, yeah, I think that's what I think Kyle was referring to when he was asking about the question about the curve. So thanks for bringing that up, Madam.
So I'm just gonna maybe see if we can dumb this down a little bit so that maybe I can understand it. And if there's anybody as slow as me, maybe they'll get that too. So I'll maybe just use the example of the gym just so everybody can kind of follow along. So the uninformed optimism is, I've found this CrossFit thing. It's super cool. It's, there's a relatively low barrier to entry. I'm going to run this gym. It's going to be so exciting. We're going to have all these people doing CrossFit, and then sign the lease, open the gym, and realize that there's nobody in the door. And now I need to understand, hey, what does that mean to actually start bringing people in? And then those systems and whatnot are understood and start to put in place. And I'm starting to use those tools and making progress in bringing people in the gym and making progress there until eventually you're at whatever completion means. Is that kind of the idea?
Pretty much it. Yeah, bang on. Very good.
Perfect. Okay. So how does knowing this information, how does knowing that, hey, informed pessimism is about to come after this honeymoon period, is there a strategy to, is knowing enough to say, hey, I know I'm going to get through this and therefore I'm going to take this leap? Does knowing help?
Yeah, I think the understanding of that curve helps you to reflect on the moments and where you are on the curve. So what's interesting when like we're all aging and we're all using perspective. And I think, some of us are recognizing patterns, and that pattern recognition is so important in understanding how to progress through life, because really a lot of things we do in life are repetitive. And I mean, to use your question in another way, have you ever seen the grieving cycle? Mm-hmm. It's also a cycle, right? Like when you lose something very important, there's anger, and then I don't even know them all. I'm not going to profess to know, but I understand it's a process. And I think yes, to your point, once you understand the process and you realize it's happening, it's probably a little better, a little easier to deal with, and a little more faith in the fact that you're going to come through the process, as opposed to just going blindly through it and then having to equate that process in your mind to something that you never knew before. So I feel like, I'm able to impart a little bit of experience and perhaps wisdom on younger folk when they're hitting that curve, and say, look, you know what, I understand this curve. Here's where you are on the curve, and then drawing it out on a table napkin or something very basic, and then 3 or 4 bullets on it. And I think I can tell you that my feedback that I've been getting is that it works. But and I use it. I don't use it daily, but I certainly use it when it's required. Has it helped me understand? I think it did. I think when I learned it, I was able to understand it, conceptualize it, and then internalize it and feel it and live it. So I would say that it definitely helps. Yeah, in a very simplistic way.
Like what I get from a little bit of this, and maybe I'm extrapolating, is that with time, with experience, because a lot of these things are cyclical or repetitive or whatever you want to call it, that if you pay attention, you should be able to make better decisions moving forward because you've experienced it. For example, although the market looks reasonable right now, it's likely we're going to be in some kind of market, depression, correction, whatever you want to call it, and people who have been through as investors, 2001, 2008 and previous know, to, hey, calm your emotions, stay the course. But a newer investor sees the volatility, and sorry for using an investing analogy if people watching aren't familiar with any of this stuff, but having been through a couple of those, that, hey, like on the end of this is what's going to happen. So wisdom and experience, is that the only Is that the only way to learn to make better decisions through experience, or is there a shortcut?
Yeah. I think for the intelligent folk who want to read and learn about others' experiences, I would say there's a shortcut. For those hard-headed types like me, I just got to do it myself to realize it's true. I don't typically take anything at face value until I do it, and then I know it's real. And that's just the way I've always learned. And I don't suggest that that's the best way to learn. There are a lot of smarter people than me out there who would, analyze. Call coming in just killed it. Sorry, another phone call just came in, just killed it. Sorry. Yes, there likely are shortcuts. That's the whole point, is that people out there are communicating their experiences. If you can internalize those, work with them, and change your behavior, then yeah, for sure. Hasn't necessarily worked for me, but I don't think I believe that I'm able to, to sort of adapt that philosophy and take shortcuts in the future, and looking to do that already now, trying to learn about certain aspects that I'm curious about, and trying to close that gap without having to benefit or having to invest 5 years of trying and smashing my head against the wall to figure it out.
So would you say that certain lessons are, it's necessary to be learned, it's necessary to learn those lessons the hard way, and some lessons are okay to have that shortcut, or should all lessons be learned the hard way, or vice versa? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong. Yeah, that's a pretty loaded question. There's no right or wrong answer. I mean, the analogy that comes to mind right now is I've talked to a few folks from our community and about investing in real estate, and you're one of them, and your experience investing in real estate was you got a star tenant the first time around, and then the second time around maybe a little bit of confidence, not so much, right? So now you're learning the hard way. So can you bypass without doing the dirty work? Yeah, it's possible. Is it gonna be successful every time? Maybe not. Maybe.
So
luck is a factor.
Let's do this then. So we'll elaborate on that particular example. And those of you who are unfamiliar, Chelsea and I own a duplex in Smith Falls. It's a really old house. We inherited tenants. And there are more challenges that come along with that. And I keep saying, hey, this is great for me because now I get to learn a little bit more about the ins and outs of landlording. So yes, in that sense, I can learn it the hard way. But would I not be better off, and maybe there's more factors involved in this question, but would I not be better off, having read a book that would have taught me to, hey, don't buy a place where you're inheriting tenants, just skip that step completely. Would I have had an easier route? Should I have taken that? Or is there really good value in learning it the hard way?
Yeah, I would suspect in your example specifically that there's value in learning, because the reality is you don't know. I mean, I'm a lot more quick at making decisions based on 18 years. Like I had a conversation with a customer yesterday, very similar to this, right? This guy's a guy I know. He wants to design and build some homes for him in Westboro, that he can live in one, sell in one, and the next one. He's a developer. He's done it many times. And so, he says to me, mid-conversation, like, I'm going to be an easy guy for you to build for. I've done this before. In fact, I'm going to do some of the work. Like maybe we could talk about reducing your fee, which I'm like, yeah, I'm all for it. Let's talk. If I can define the scope of what you want and I can reduce my fee and do less work, then I'm happy. But as I'm going down that road, I said I was very, the confidence of being able to tell the guy straight, like, look, you know what? I have enough respect for you. I'm going to be really honest with you and just tell you the following thing. You don't fit the mold of what we're looking for. Therefore, I'm not sure that I should be wasting your time or mine going down this road with you. And he respected that. But the ability for me to say that comes with 18 years of making mistakes and trying and believing that I could make it work, and it doesn't work. And now maybe it's jaded, I'm jaded. Maybe I'm just not looking at things positively anymore. But I think it's really just, the experiences you're getting with tenants out in the real world who call you because a light bulb is down or someone had to accidentally punch the door, for the 10th time this month, like those are the real things you're going to deal with in life. And you can't read that in a book. I mean, you could, but it, you know, at the time you made the decision of retaining the tenants, it was based on money. So obviously the allure of having less anxiety and tension, getting a tenant in the house versus, you know, the potential for what this person could do and cause problems was just, it was outweighed. So you made the choice you thought was good. And now you know how to handle yourself differently. I don't know if a book would have taught you that. And I don't know if you would have believed a book if it told you that too, right? So that's the other thing. Yeah.
It kind of sounds like it depends on where you are in this journey and how open you are to, you know, external assistance maybe. So if, you know, and I know that you've, you know, we started out this conversation talking about personal development, you know, and I know that that's something that's super important to you. And I know that there's probably a couple routes, you know, that you can take if this is, you know, a journey that you want to start. And, you know, there's probably the self-directed version where you know, buy online programs and books and whatnot. And I know you can talk to that as well, with some Tony Robbins stuff, who I know we're both fans of. But then the other route is mentorship, is masterminds, is coaching. Are you able to maybe just talk a little bit about both of those? What's the value, and maybe what works for what type of person?
Yeah, very interesting question. So as part of that epiphany where I, you know, or future shaping event where I wanted to sort of reflect on aspects of my life that I wanted to improve, and I got to tell you, before this point, I really didn't respect coaching very much. I thought it was kind of like a fluffy type of business where it was all about charging clients, making money, not giving any value. And I was hesitant to get in, but I was curious enough to figure it out. And I joined a mastermind group, like you referred to, a group of similar people running businesses that get together once a month and share common successes and challenges. Now, what that brought to me though was a couple of things, and I think this is where you're going, is that, you know, if you're looking at self-development and understanding, you know, the aspects of your life you want to improve, and I would suggest that it's all aspects of your life, and you might have certain aspects that are firing on all cylinders. Like there's no reason you're a 9 out of 10 in your fitness level. Fantastic, great. Let's take a look at your, financial success. Are you firing on all cylinders in that aspect? And if you're not, where are you? And then look at your, maybe spiritual part of life is important to you. And then there's, the community part of being part of a bigger community. So I would identify, where you are on this sort of, on all these buckets of your life. And then I think, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I don't want to interrupt there, but,
Yeah.
and I think maybe there's a differentiation right away there, identifying those areas, for some people that's probably easily done on their own, because they're aware of who they are and kind of how they make decisions and all that. But I'm assuming there's probably a good group of people that would need some guidance on that. Somebody looking at, hey, let's have a chat about your overall picture. And then from there, be able to identify the areas that potentially, could use some bringing up to the other levels.
Yeah, for sure. Not everyone has the same buckets, right? So, my 7 buckets were, I think I referred to 5 of them. Spirituality wasn't one of my high ones yet. I haven't really got to that level in sort of engaging into myself and maybe even connecting with, whatever type of higher power. Certainly not ruling it out in the future, but right now, which is what didn't hit one of my buckets. But definitely community, being part of my community was something that was important. And so that one, resonated high. And so, yeah, once you determine what these, and to be honest, 5 out of 7 are going to be pretty similar for most people. It's going to be, your financial well-being, your physical well-being, your, relationship well-being, and then maybe a couple other ones, but really after about 5 or 6 are pretty much all the same, and you can give them different names. But I think where I was going was that making yourself accountable to others is really important, right? So accountability is our biggest thing. I mean, I was speaking with Darren Dukes the other day, also a gym member, and Darren and I aren't great friends, but we have enough relationship we can talk to each other. And he says to me, I want to start a lifting program. Would you do it with me? Because I just want you to keep me accountable. And like, it's so simple, right? So once you make a commitment in front of other people, the propensity for you to deliver on those commitments goes up like through the roof. If you've read Atomic Habits, I'm sure you guys have pitched to a lot of people out there, that talks about the difference between changing habits and not. But yeah, I think the highest thing. So surrounding yourself with people that are sort of heading in the right direction, that truly have believe in helping and helping you achieve your goals, whether it's friends, family, and other. And then making yourself accountable to others is very important too. And that's always risky because you put yourself out there on the edge, and now you got to own up to it when you don't. And so, but that's part of the curve, right? Just like the curve we saw, it's all part of the process. And I think that's one thing that coaching, although I didn't really understand it, taught me, is that once a month I got to show face with people that I've told I'm going to do something with. And if I don't, they're going to hold me to account. And I have a personal coach as well who I check in with every other week. And, she holds me to account. She's got 10 years of seniority on me in terms of her age, and she's smart, and she doesn't take any of my garbage, which I need. So I think that's taught. Apologize, another phone call. Sorry about that. Third phone call.
Okay.
So your question was about, I want to come back to your questions. I'm just hitting it head on, but can you rephrase that one question just to make sure I got it all? It was about. Yeah.
I think kind of where I'm getting at is, the benefits of doing this kind of self-directed, and then, and I think we're maybe getting to the main point there, that the benefit of a coach or a group or whatever, is it all about accountability, or are they, asking you certain questions that are prompting, you to think in a certain way? Are they giving you answers? What does that process look like of having a mentor, of having a coach?
Yeah.
Valuable.
Well, very good question. So I mean, from what I've learned, a good coach or a great coach is someone who can, lead you to water or open the door, but you still got to walk through it on your own, right? So they provide you the environment and the opportunity to learn about yourself, reflect, but it's a very safe and encouraging environment, so that, you're because part of the learning process of this is being vulnerable, right? And I think a lot of us have a hard time being vulnerable about anything, whether it's, your physical self, your emotional self, your financial self, where there's a slew of things that we're embarrassed about or don't want to discuss, and in our culture too, being Canadian, we typically don't talk about things that are uncomfortable. It's just not what we do, because it's just how we are, I mean, coming from an Italian background, nothing is off the table at any time of the day or night, right? So, so anyway, I'm not going to get into that right now, but certainly, yeah, I think the value of a good coach is really based upon the fact that that person will believes in your ability and your potential, will work with you to help you get there, will not give you the answers, but show you the way and let you walk your own path, and then be there to support you when you fall, and offer advice on how to get through these pitfalls that come along the way. And that's what this particular coach has offered me. And I can tell you, there are many times where, I've changed a little bit about how I think. And if it wasn't for this one person challenging me on my thoughts, I don't think I would have, I would have found a way eventually, but it was very interesting how she led me to help understand myself better. So it's really a leading process and a non-judgment process. And, but a lot of the stuff you do on your own, the work comes from you. It'd be very similar to what you guys do in the gym every day, right? Yeah, you can show someone how to do something. You can't do it for them. They got to do it, and they got to go. And some of them don't get it right the first 10,000 times, whether it's a complicated movement like the snatch or or something simple. It doesn't come easy for everybody. Anyway, for sake of not rambling on, I think I hit that one. I hope I did anyway. Yeah.
I'd say so. So just on a personal note, then, since starting this journey, this personal development journey, and it could be from research that you've done on your own, or stuff that you've gotten from the coach or the accountability group, what's the biggest either mindset change or decision that you've made differently? Are you able to pinpoint one or two things that maybe if you hadn't been going on this journey, you would have done differently?
Yeah, for sure. So two things I would say. One is that I recognized, and this one I think a lot of us struggle with, or definitely I do, and sometimes I think the world's like me, but it's not. But I had a very hard time understanding people's perspectives if they weren't mine. And, you know, specifically in relationship with my business partner, one thing this person taught me was to understand that when someone doesn't agree with you, it's not because they're it's not about you, it's about their own values. And we can all have different value sets, and it's not a reflection on what I think about you or somebody else. It's really just, they have a different perspective on how the world works, and they've built different value sets around how they see the world. And that's not a judgment. It is what it is. And then as soon as I learned that and accepted that, I found that my relationship with my business partner, who's like my second wife, you know, was so much better, because we're tied to this business that, you know, that's our marriage, and we're both tied to the success of this business. And if it doesn't succeed, then we both suffer. So I have a vested interest, but I didn't want to fight with the guy every day, and I didn't want to have to. So really changing myself was a lot easier than having to change him. And you hear that a lot in relationships, and I'm not a counselor by any stretch, but that was a big one. The second one, man, it was there on the tip of my tongue now. It's eluded me, but I'm not even going to waste time. I'm just going to move on. But I'll leave it at that first one there.
Yeah, but I think that's a perfect one. And so was that on your own that you made that realization, or was that through a coach?
No, that was through a coach. I mean, this lady, you know, I'd call her up for the first year, and she, you know, actually, again, quick little story, but, you know, our first session, it was 4 of us on this. She was embarking on a journey to create a group of people that she could coach and be a chair for. And this group meets every month, and they hear usually from a guru in, I don't know, marketing, business management, you know, branding. And then they spend the rest of the days talking between each other on what to do. And my first session, I remember getting off the phone. It was a snowstorm in March 4 years ago. I think 27th was the day. And I get on the phone with my business partner, and in her house, that's the meetings were for the first 2 times. I'm getting into like a verbal argument with my business partner for an hour on her couch. And she's like, look, meeting's over at 4. It's 5. You're still in my house. Obviously you got problems because you're arguing with your partner for an hour. And that was what it was like for the year. The first time with her, we'd go on walks, we'd talk, you know, interchange ideas. And then she just had the guts to tell me, like, man, the problem's not him, it's you. And I'm like, no, it isn't. And then, you know, after telling me over and over and over, and then helping me see, it became a values conversation. And I really understood at some point that it was just values, and it wasn't about him, and it wasn't about him me trying to make him crazy. It was about my perception of what he was thinking. And once I accepted that we don't have to have the same way of thinking, it was very easy. Things got a lot better. Oh, I'm sorry. The second one now comes to mind. It was the confidence to just to take ownership of my business and not have to look for permission and acceptance from other people. And so a lot of my career as a custom home builder, because I had a business partner, I really wanted to like always make sure he was okay with what I did, and, you know, get his approval. I'm not talking about going and, like, you know, withdrawing a couple $100,000 without saying anything. I mean, like, you know, taking the business on a different venture, trying to, you know, create systems that were internal. And for some reason I was so hung up on his buy-in. Like, if I wanted to put a process in place for how our invoices are received and then labeled and then appropriated to each job, I'd be looking for his approval on all these things. And she taught me, like, you know what? No, I don't think I need this approval. I think you just need to go and do it. And sure enough, on a couple of key things I did, and it was a huge game changer. I took control of what I thought I was there to do. And he was happy about it. Didn't even have to worry about asking his permission. He was just, you know, enthusiastic about the fact that I got up and did it without even ask. So those two things, I guess, are probably related, because I think it's a values thing again there. But but that took a lot. That took like 4, or maybe not 4 years, but 3 years to get to that point, to understand that not everyone's like me. How much time do we have, Adam?
Even with that guidance, it's challenging. We got 4 minutes. So maybe I was going to ask other questions, but maybe we, well,
I got time. I don't know if you're going to cut off a certain time. You want to keep it to an hour?
We will get cut off because Jenna will be signing in to coach the noon class.
Okay.
Maybe one more question, and then we'll call it. We could always do a second one if people are interested. The way you talk about your mentor, I don't know her name, but it makes it sound like she really understands you and, you know, finds the right ways to get you to do what you want to do. How important is it that you find a mentor or a coach that is right for you, and any tips on how to do that?
Yeah. So, wow. You're asking some good ones. Right. I mean, if she wasn't her, would I still be as engaged in, hi, Diana. Would I still be as engaged as I am in the coaching? I mean, I think you have to find someone who is going to challenge you, you know, and basically, you know, not take any of your garbage, but at the same time, back it up with you know, with real substance. So what she's provided is something that's, you know, she constantly challenges me. She constantly corrects me if I need to be corrected. And then if I, of course, kind of guy I am, I push back. And if I push back, she's totally accepting of the pushback. Like, meaning she'll take it, regurgitate it, and then say, no, this is where, you know, you should be. And I think having that kind of relationship is so important, because if you don't respect the person that you're being coached by, it's not going to work. So respect is a huge thing, but how do you get respect? It's through experience and obviously information and knowledge. So yeah, so answer, that's a very high level question, but a good one. And I think, yes, it's important. You got to respect the person that's coaching you.
Maybe try out a couple to find someone.
Yeah. And the respect has to be earned, right? So yeah. I know we're down at 3 minutes. I see Christina signed on, which is great. They're probably getting ready for the nooner, so that's fantastic. I want to take a few seconds here just to acknowledge that, you know, you guys are doing a fantastic job and this is no pitch. I'm just saying, for the gym, I'm actually super mystified by how you're doing and providing value to the people in the community, not only through online coaching, but the varied packages you provided, the yoga, the meditation, the lifting, the mobility, the conversation with the coach. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a fantastic job. And certainly, you know, I certainly appreciate being part of this community. And I do think that when this is all said and done, we're all going to be stronger for it. So.
Awesome. Well, I definitely appreciate this, and I'm sure anybody who tunes in here will get a ton of value. So thank you very much for taking the time to do this, and you know, stay safe, and hopefully we'll be back in person soon enough.
Okay, great. Good luck, Jenna, on the nooner. Bye, everybody.
Thanks a lot, Fred. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.